Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes. Welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings, and we are on book 4 of the Marcus Didius Falco series, The Iron Hand of Mars. And interestingly enough, this is the first title since The Silver Pigs that's kind of, in my opinion, really not so much front and center, because The Silver Pigs is genuinely very much about, smuggling silver in the iron ingot things and stuff, and they're called silver pigs. But in this, now I know that I started out saying that, Didius Falco is kind of like a 1930s gumshoe thing, and he is, but at this point, the books are really starting to make it clear that he is at least partially going to be employed by the Emperor Vespasian. And the thing about being employed by the Emperor Vespasian is the reason why is very much because Vespasian is cheap. Like, this comes up again and again during these first 4 books, is that Vespasian is very much a middle-class man, is very much the son of tax collectors, is very much somebody who understands the value of a drachma or a sesterce or whatever, value of a buck, whatever unit of money you're talking about. He's very much aware of that, and because Falco is extremely competent when he chooses to be, Vespasian also knows that Falco can be trusted to do the job and to do it properly. Whether or not the job will be done to, standardized government specs, well, that's another issue. But he will get the job done, and Vespasian will get the information that he needs, and so on and so forth. And so, because Falco is cheap by comparison with any sort of official government investigation, Vespasian keeps on hiring Didius because he can. And the thing about Didius Falco is he is a plebeian, that is, he is a bottom-barrel caste member of Roman society. The only people lower on the totem pole than plebeians are actual slaves. And his girlfriend, Helena, is a patrician, that is, noble class. So this is basically like a medieval serf who's trying to get into a relationship with the daughter of the local duke. It doesn't really work. But it's still working because they have fallen in love, and she's really, really determined to have him. And he wants her, and one of the reasons he keeps working for the palace is because he can move up a caste level out of plebe and into the middle class, so to speak. Whatever it's called, I don't recall offhand. It's in the book. But anyways, if he gets enough money, then he can basically pay that, like, this is the way you can move up a class, is you get, like, 400,000, and then you could, it's a stupid amount of money that, like, normal people can't manage to collect, but if he manages to, then he can basically elbow his way up a caste level, and then it will not be entirely outre for him and Helena to marry. So even though he hates working for the palace because he is a Republican, that is, he deeply resents the fact that Rome over the past however many 100 years, whatever it was, has shifted from being a republic to being an empire. And so working for Emperor Vespasian just, makes his teeth itch, among other things. But it's a way to get enough money to move up a class level. So he'll keep doing it even though he hates it. And also because ultimately, while he would rather Rome be a republic, Vespasian is the best out of the most recent run of emperors that they've had. After all, Nero is a really recent memory, and Nero, well, I mean, if you don't know any Roman history, Nero is one of those Romans who gives Romans a really, really bad name. Nero is, yes, he's known for having, quote, fiddled while Rome burned, unquote, but Nero was kind of a psychopath. There were several Roman emperors who were psychopaths, but Nero is Nero's kind of top of the heap. There are several who are horrific, but he is near the top of the ones who you're just like, wow, he's a monster who really likes the theater. It's that classic thing with those really, really horrible dictators who also, like, have some weird hobby, like, Morris dancing or something, and you're like, okay, you're going to, murder all of the people of this particular group of people and try to take over the world, but you're also going to do your Morris dancing. Okay, maybe you could do more Morris dancing and a little bit less murdering, but Nero was very much one of those people where it's like, maybe you could go keep on making third-rate plays instead of killing people. Just a thought. We'd all be happier that way. Anyways, but Vespasian seems to be a reasonably competent human being who is trying to drag Rome into some semblance of, being a functional state once more. And so, he's sort of by default having to support Vespasian because it's like, this is better than what we've had the last, 20 years. Anyways, so in this particular book, there's been trouble out in their wild colonies in Europe, because there is always trouble out in the wild colonies in Europe. That's what happens when you try to take over the known world by conquering everybody, including a bunch of local warring tribes who are all going to violently, violently hate you for ripping away their way of life. British imperialism learned from the best, and the best were the Romans. At being, invading imperials. Rome was very, very, very good at that. Anyways, and then the Roman Empire collapsed and everything fell apart. But anyways, so they're having trouble, this time out in Germany, because, of course, there was the trouble out in Britain when all of the Celtic tribes revolted and, murdered a bunch of people, mostly because Roman excesses were, really, really horrific out there. And the Germans also didn't particularly like it and went stomping around and, whole bunch of things. Anyways, the big thing about this, of course, is that this book is not particularly sympathetic, because this is a book about a Roman man who is from Rome and loves Rome and is going to see things from the perspective of his people. So you kind of have to just, roll with that and accept it. But it's an interesting... He gets sent out there, and the Iron Hand thing is because Vespasian has commissioned a new legion standard thing, which is like a giant iron hand, literally, that basically Falco has to haul this huge lump of iron all the way out to Germany, where he is supposed to investigate the prophetess Velida, and he's supposed to investigate Civilis, or possibly Civilis. My Latin is not really all that it could be. Who is a leader of the German resistance, which, has been through a thing and was eventually crushed and yada yada yada, but he's still there, and there are still a great many tribes who are not particularly interested in having Rome continuing to hang around. So he's basically out there to investigate one missing legionnaire and, one missing general or whatever they're called, which, again, I don't remember off the top of my head, and discovers another one is missing when he gets there, because he's supposed to deliver the thing to him in a missive and a letter, and that guy isn't in the fort and nobody will tell him, and his wife says that he's missing, and, it's a whole thing. And he's also supposed to talk to, a whole bunch of stuff. It's like a 1930s gumshoe got sent on a high-stakes, political spy thriller. It's really, really weird. Very, very enjoyable. Anyways, so there is this whole subplot about him and his girlfriend Helena, and the push pull of it, because Vespasian's son Titus has also started hitting on Helena because she is extremely attractive and highly intelligent and a very, very good marriage match for him. And Falco spends a lot of this book sort of, feeling bad about the fact that he's absolutely sure that she will do the sensible thing and choose Titus. She does not, but he keeps on assuming that she will because he thinks she's smarter than that, than to pick him. Anyways, she shows up in Germany after all, because her younger brother is in charge of one of the legions out there, because this is a thing that they do in Rome, is they would send, these sons of nobility out, and they would be supposedly in charge of stuff, even though they have no real qualifications, and it's a weird system. Anyways, so, he finds his girlfriend's brother, and they sort of hang together, and then she shows up with Marcus's niece with her. Because Marcus has, a half dozen sisters, and all of them have kids, and so his least favorite sister apparently managed to pawn off her daughter on Marcus's girlfriend, who takes the kid with her all the way up to Germany. And it's this weird thing that his family just keeps on cropping up in these books, and not just the fact that his mother said, if you're going to be in Germany, I expect you to bring me back souvenir plates. And he's like, well, okay, fine, and tries to find a good plate to bring home to his mother, and he doesn't, but he tries. But it's his niece is there, and she's 8. His 8-year-old niece has been brought up to Germany, to the frontier with the aggressive German tribes who really, really hate Rome. Just been brought up there because his girlfriend has gone out there to, see him and to visit her younger brother. It is so weird. I mean, the girl eventually winds up being very, very useful in finding a clue to help him resolve things, but it's really, really weird. And, these little weirdnesses in these books, that moment when he realizes that the little girl that he just saw in passing is his niece, and he's like, why is she here? It's why are we here? We're at, the barbarian hinterlands, and why? And it's because Helena is slightly crazy. She is intensely practical and very, very smart and a whole bunch of other things, but she's clearly a little bit crazy because there are no real good reasons to imagine, to choose to bring an 8-year-old child with you all the way to the barbarian frontier. It's kind of senseless. It's in the second book, he's bringing his nephew everywhere, mainly because one of his other sisters had said, please take my nephew and give him a talking to and keep him from getting into trouble, and he brings his nephew with him, and then she yells at him later because her son has started trying to become an artist, and she's like, why would you do this to me? Why couldn't you teach him? Why couldn't you convince him to do something good, practical with his life? Anyway, so this whole book, it's this weird twisty thing, this meeting of about 8 different genres at one point, and it's really, really fun. And of course, Falco is a delight and hilarious, and also there is a gay barber who accidentally chops a man's head off slices a man's head nearly off with his razor, which is a hell of a thing. Many people are traumatized by this. And, so, continues to be fun, and that's everything, and I will see you all next week.